Yeah, so we have, like you were saying, there's like 2 points that are important to us on this graph. It's like where we're going to shut down, at what price will we shut down, and then at what price are we going to be making a profit. And so we have here, these are cost curves, right? And so what you'll be doing now is they're going to be giving you like a price. So right now you start by talking about like pure competition, right? And so in a purely competitive market, we say that the price is going to be your marginal benefit line curve, right? So, well, because I have this written up here, because we say that whenever a firm's trying to maximize their profit, they want their marginal benefit to equal their marginal cost. Okay. And I remember Brother Hershey like really drove that one home. So you probably heard that before, maybe.
Yeah.
Marginal benefit equals marginal cost.
Yeah, last class he was talking.
Yeah, he was talking about that. Yeah. So the reason, so I'm going to draw on a blue curve here. Maybe we're going to say that if the price in this perfectly competitive market is like, I don't know, $50 here, then basically this becomes, or this is also the demand curve right here, right? Well, imagine that straight, because I can't draw very straight, but what that's saying is that for this is just, we're looking at one company, right? This is an individual company, and we're saying that no matter how much I produce, like if I produce, this line's not very straight either, but if I produce 10 or 20 or 30, the price is always going to be, I'm always going to get $50 for each one. Okay. Doesn't matter how many I produce, right? And that's in pure competition, because we say like in pure competition, you know, each firm is so small that it doesn't really matter. Like with the monopoly, if the monopoly makes less, then the price is going to go up, you know? Like normally you're used to seeing that, the demand curve look like this, right?
Yeah.
And then supply like that, right? But in this case, well, at least for each individual firm, your demand is going to be, so this line ends up being your demand curve, or it's still your price, or it's your marginal benefit. It's all going to be this, that's all the same here.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why when they say, okay, at this point right here, they say that this is your break-even point. They call that break-even. Or in other words, if the price is at least that much, right? If the price is at least here, so there's some line right here where if the price was that, then at that point I'm covering all my costs. Right? That's economic profit of 0. Okay. Right? So my costs are equal to my revenues. So for this unit, you also need to remember those like formulas, like, you know, we have total revenue is equal to, or total profit is equal to your total revenue minus your total costs, right? Mm-hmm. And then like for revenues, you would do like price times quantity, and then for costs, you would do there's different ways to do that, but usually you would do like, in this case, you could look at your average total cost curve, right? Because that's saying per unit. So you would do your average total cost times your quantity, right? So that could be one way where you could look at it, right? Because I could say right here, you know, at this if it was $50 right here, I could say, okay, well, I know if it's $50, I'm going to produce where my marginal benefit, which is this curve, intersects my marginal cost. So I'm going to produce this. So maybe that's a quantity of 20, right? So for total revenue, I would have price is 50 times quantity is 20, and I would get whatever that is, 1,000. And then I do average total cost. So my average total cost would be something lower than that. Maybe say that's $48, right? And then I do $48 times my quantity, which is 20. And that comes out to be like 960 maybe. And then I would see that you make a profit of 40, kind of, right? So are you kind of following how that's going, yeah, maybe graphically? Yeah. Because also you might see it in a table, and you maybe have already seen that.
Yeah. Where
like it gives you a table instead of a graph. But I like just at least visualizing it on the graph, because then it's easy to find on the table, right? Because, well, yeah. So yeah, I'll let you write a few of those things. So another thing maybe just to point out or kind of to help you understand it is that, at this point right here, this line, remember we're saying is the price that you're getting per unit. And then your average total cost is how much it's costing you per unit, right? Mm-hmm. So if those are equal, that's basically saying, it's costing me the same as I'm getting from selling it. Right, so that makes sense that would be the break-even point, right?
So is that called equal?
Yeah, that's the long-run equilibrium. Because remember, a couple chapters ago, we talked about how in the long run, we'll always have an economic profit of 0, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what's happening right here is there's an economic profit of 0.
Okay.
And so if the price were up here at $50, then we'd be making a profit. And then remember we said before that if there's an industry that's making a profit, then companies will come in or people will come into that industry, and then there'll be more suppliers, and then the price will go down until it eventually gets down there to 0.
Okay.
So in the long run, it's always going to be right here, right? And then now the other point that we're interested in is this point right here. What if the price is right here, right? What if the price were down here? And what happens there is you can see these variable costs. The difference between here and here is your fixed costs, right?
Okay.
So there's some fixed costs that you have, and then remember, fixed costs you pay regardless of how many you make, but variable costs you only pay if you're making a certain amount of products, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of think about that as your materials, if I am making cars, my fixed cost might be that I'm renting this big old factory, and then my variable cost would be tires. I only have to pay for tires if I'm making a car, right?
Yeah.
And so what happens at this point is that if I'm any price above that point, and now see I'm drawing already too many lines up here, but we erase some of these lines here to kind of keep it. So we said that one was your break-even line right here, right? It has to be at least this price to make a profit. Anything above that, I'm making a profit. Anything below this, I'm going to shut down right here. So I'm going to shut down in this region right here. Because what?
Anything lower than where the...
Yeah, where your average variable cost intersects your marginal cost.
Okay, and anything
or
below that you would shut down.
Yeah, and the reason for that is that that's saying is below that is that my variable costs, I can't even cover my variable costs. So basically my tires cost me more than it cost me to sell the car, you know what I mean? So obviously I wouldn't make 20 if I'm losing $2 each product I'm selling or something. I don't know, whatever the example is.